welcome to the library. I'm Rebecca Phillips, I'm the Cathedral Archivist, and this wonderful room is the space I get to call my home when I'm here at work. It was built probably somewhere around the 1400s to 1450, and it dates from our monastic time, therefore, so I wanted to share some items with you that have got links to our monastic past, but also have got links to poetry. We've got many different sorts of books in this library. You'd expect us to have Bibles, and we have about 80 of those. But we also have all sorts of other books that are the men and women who've been part of this cathedral found interesting and wanted to keep and to share amongst themselves. So we have travelogues, we have medical books, but amongst all of that we have a number of bits of poetry. So on the table I've got a number of things that are related to poetry. The first thing on this side is our Abbey Chronicle. It was probably written, we think, about 1390, but no one thought to tell us the date of it. It's handwritten on vellum, and it's probably our earliest record of the monastery itself. But tucked in amongst it, just starting here at the bottom here and going over onto the next page, is a poem written by our first Norman abbot. He was called Serlo, and he wrote a poem of the history of the abbey up till then. It's written in Latin, so I won't pain anyone with my pronunciation of Latin, but it's probably our first and our oldest poem that exists, that we've got first hand in the library. In the middle is one of the books that we sometimes get out when we have visitors up here to the library, and it's actually a printed version of Piers Plowman. Piers Plowman is a poem written probably around the mid to late 1300s, so somewhere between 1360 and 1380, and it is an allegory. So it is a series of poems about dreams that the main character, Piers Plowman, had, which are echoing the world around him at that stage. So he talks about various different aspects, but the one that's open at the moment is what is Passus 9. It's got a number of different passuses, sections or cantos, you might also have heard them referred to as. And the reason why I love this book particularly is that not only do we have the text in its original dialect sort of language, so almost looking German in places, you can see in places ich habe, I have, coming in there. But also it's got these lovely illustrations around the edge at the start of each section. This one particularly has got a lovely kind of curved dragon sitting in there, which is a real kind of treat for us. It's got gilded edges, and the boards themselves are golden as well. We think that the author's name that's given to Piers Plowman nowadays by most academics is called William Langland. He may have been someone who lived not far from here in Malvern, because the very start of the poem is Piers sitting on the Malvern Hills looking down at the valleys below him and falling asleep to then dream his dreams. But all the way through, what William Langland is doing is pointing out the differences between what he sees as heaven and God's kingdom and how a rightly ordered kingdom should be, and the kingdom he sees around him, both in terms of church, in terms of state, and in terms of the people around him as well. So he's pointing out the political and the social injustices that he sees around him through this poem and through the dreams that he's showing. And one of the things we'd love to ask you to do as part of today is, would you like to try having a go at writing some poetry yourself? Piers didn't have to rhyme, nor does yours, but poetry can be a wonderful way to explore your emotions, explore issues that really matter to you, that you see around you in the world today, and that you want to put right, and to communicate your passion for that. The last thing on the table is a bit of a quandary for us. It's beautiful, and it's really kind of quirky and interesting, and I really enjoy it for that reason. It's an illustration trying to show the life a day in the life of one of our monks here at Gloucester. But my issue is it came to me with no background at all. So I don't know who drew this, when it was drawn, although I think from the style that it's probably somewhere in the late 20th century. So maybe you are someone who's been around the cathedral for a while and you know who drew this, or you've got an inkling. I'd love to find out. If you do know, please get in touch with us and let us know. If you want to take a closer look at it, it's actually rather beautifully drawn with the Norman arches that reflect the Norman arches downstairs in the cathedral, and then with each archway showing a different aspect of the day. So we've got worship in the first two. So this one is them worshipping in the cathedral, in the choir itself, with that glorious great east window behind them. We've got them sitting and having their chapter and writing their books. We've got them eating as well, because of course food and drink is part of their life too. Curing and helping the sick with the herb garden at the bottom. And then actually farming and working the fields as well, because the Abbey had lands all over the county and beyond that as well, into Wales, into Herefordshire, and even had, would you believe, 2 taverns up in London. That we expect probably people were using those as just a source of income, so it's unlikely our monks ever got to actually go to there. But maybe if they were travelling to London to see other monasteries, to see the king even, then maybe they stayed in their own tavern up there. But it's a bit of an unknown thing for us. We'd love to know more about it. We'd love to see your attempts at writing poetry as well. Share what you managed to create. And I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of the library.